Welcome to Heart of Halfling, where we talk about Lord of the Rings and a little bit about D&D. So let's get to it. Today we're talking about Chapter 2 of the Silmarillion of Aule and Yavanna. First thing, I'm sorry to everybody that was probably getting annoyed with me for mispronouncing Aule's name. I will try to get better about my pronunciation of all these names. But his name is Aule. So the story begins with Aule being very excited about the children of Iluvatar coming. And he wants to share his lore and his knowledge to something, to somebody. He's ready. And he's so excited, in fact, that he gets impatient and he creates the 7 fathers of dwarves. And he begins to instruct them on the language that he has devised for the dwarves. And I say instruct because they're not actually learning. The dwarves have no actual consciousness at this point. Aule does not have the ability to actually give the dwarves real life. And so they're more like puppets at this moment. And Iluvatar knows immediately what's going on. The rest of the Valar are in the lost about this. Aule has been keeping this a secret from everybody else. But Iluvatar knows immediately when Aule has done this. And so Iluvatar speaks to Aule and he's just like, what are you trying to do? Why are you trying to do something beyond your capabilities? You're given your life only, and your creations can only live through you, out only as far as you're thinking about them. Once you put your thoughts on something else, they stand idle. Is that what you want? Is that your desire? And Aule responds that he only wanted others to love and to teach and to share his love for Ea. Like, he wanted to create something that could rejoice in what Iluvatar has made as well. And Aule apologizes for his impatience to Iluvatar, but he also says, can you really blame the child for mimicking the father? Like, it's not out of mockery, it's because the child admires the father and wants to do something similar to the father. But if that's not what you want for me, then tell me what I need to do for forgiveness. And Aule even says if he needs to, he'll destroy his creations, he'll destroy the dwarves. And in saying this, he picks up a great hammer and begins to weep, and he's ready to destroy the dwarves, and he begins to go down. And Iluvatar shows compassion for Aule and for his willingness to destroy his creations, and the dwarves cower from the hammer. And Iluvatar says, Aule, do you not see what has just happened? They could have only done that if I had given them consciousness. And Aule gives great thanks to Iluvatar and asks for Iluvatar to bless his work and to amend it. And Iluvatar tells Aule that he has given the dwarves life, and that is as much amending as he will do. The way Aule has made the dwarves, that is how they will be. Iluvatar's not going to step in anymore. However, the dwarves cannot come before the firstborn, before the elves. And Iluvatar says, that's not my plan, and you're not going to mess up my plan. And so the dwarves will have to stay in slumber for many, many years, and you and the dwarves will have to wait. And Aule is okay with this. He understands, and he's fine with it. And so he takes the dwarves, the 7 fathers, and lays them down to rest until it is time for them to awake. And the way that Aule made the dwarves was with the intention of Melkor still being around. Like, he had Melkor in mind when he made the dwarves. So he made them stone hard, stubborn, and I love this, fast in friendship and in enmity. They suffer hurt and hunger and strife, says they're very hardy, and they live long lives. They're not immortal like elves, but they do live longer than men. And the chapter says that elves believe that when dwarves die, they will return to the stone from whence they came. But the dwarves believe that Aule, or what they call Mahal, takes the dwarves to Mondos and has a hall prepared for them apart from everything else, and that Iluvatar will bless them in the end and give them a place among the children in the end. And they will serve Aule and help him build a new Arda after the last battle. Durin is the most famous of the 7 fathers of dwarves, father of the dwarves, most friendly with elves, and whose mansions were at Khazad-dûm. So that is of Aule. That is how the dwarves were made. So the next part of this chapter is of Yavanna. So Aule has been keeping everything a secret from all of the Valar, including his wife. And he finally tells Yavanna what has transpired, and that Iluvatar has brought the dwarves to life and that they'll have to lay at rest. And Yavanna is very happy for him. She sees that he's excited about this. She tells him, I'm glad Iluvatar has not only forgiven you, but blessed you as well. But Yavanna is also upset. He kept this a secret from her. So her form of punishment is to tell Aule that his creations will not rejoice in what she's made and her labors, and that many trees will feel the bite of their iron. And Aule is just like, okay, there's no difference from the children of Iluvatar then. And Yavanna goes, well, that's only if Melkor, it corrupts their hearts. And Aule's like, nope, that's not how it's going to be. They're going to destroy what you've created. And so now Yavanna is concerned. She's worried and stressed and hurt that the thing that she's created and put all of her heart and soul into for the children of Iluvatar, they're just going to destroy anyways. Even though Melkor is destroying everything, they're going to destroy it too. So she's frustrated. So Yavanna goes to Manwë and says, is what Aule says is true? Are the children of Iluvatar going to have dominion over my creations? And Manwë is just like, yeah. But why are you asking this? Why are you and Aule even talking about your trees, basically? And Yavanna doesn't want to give up about saying anything about the dwarves. So she takes a minute, and she says that it's because she's anxious and worries about all her creations. Right now it's Melkor, but then she has to also worry about the children of Iluvatar. So Manwë asks if Yavanna could save one of her creations, what would she choose? Like, if any desire could be met, what's the one thing she would save? And so Yavanna says, everything has worth, but the Keldvar, which are the animals, can flee or defend themselves. But the Olvar, which are plants, cannot. And among those, she favors the trees the most. So ideally, she would want the trees to speak for all of those that have roots and to defend them, to punish anybody that does them wrong. And Manwë goes, that's a strange thought, but okay. And Yavanna points out that it was in their song, that while Manwë and Olmo were out creating the clouds and rain, and she was growing the trees, and the trees were lifting up and soaking in the rain and singing praise to Iluvatar. And so Manwë is like, okay. Yavanna kind of leaves. Manwë sits for a little bit, and I kind of read this as like Manwë is kind of meditating or in prayer. And so Manwë goes and he thinks, and he's sitting there thinking about what Yavanna said, and the Iluvatar shows him the vision again, but it says it's renewed, that now Manwë sees the hearts of the Ainur. It says that he's in the vision, but outside of himself. And it sounds like he basically is seeing what everybody else was desiring for Arda. And Iluvatar, he sees that Iluvatar has his hand in everything. And so Manwë goes to Ezolohar and speaks with Yavanna in front of the 2 trees. And he tells her what Iluvatar has said. I'm going to read it to you guys. It says, Then Manwë awoke and went down to Yavanna upon Ezolohar, and he sat beside her beneath the 2 trees. And Manwe said, O Kementari, Eru hath spoken, saying, Do then any of the Valar suppose that I did not hear all the song, even the least sound of the least voice? Behold, when the children awake, then the thought of Yavanna will awake also, and it will summon spirits from afar, and they will go among the Kelvar and the Olvar, and some will dwell therein and be held in reverence, and their just anger shall be feared, for a time, while the firstborn are in their power, and while the secondborn are young. But then Manwe says, do you not remember, though, that your song did not sing alone, that my thoughts sang with yours? And before the children of the Luvatar awake, the eagles of the lords of the west will rise. And Yavanna gets excited, and she raises her hands up and says, the trees will grow tall for the eagles to rest in them. And Manwe goes, no, they're going to rest in the trees that Lue has made. They're going to be in the mountains. And from there, the eagles will be able to hear all those who call to us. And the forest will be filled with the shepherds of the trees, or shepherds of trees. And Yavanna goes to Aule now with a little more confidence, a little more spunk in her step, and goes to Aule and says that the dwarves better beware, because, the forest, they're going to, whoever goes and fights them, it says, whose wrath they will arouse at their peril. She's all like spunky, like, you listen here. If those dwarves mess with my trees, they're going to be in trouble. And Aule, he's just working. He's doing some smith work and molding. And Aule just goes, oh, well, they'll still need wood. And he just goes back to work. And that's how the chapter ends. So, it's crazy to me that, Yavanna is such a woman in this story, honestly, though. She thinks she's punishing Aule by saying, the dwarves won't like in what she's created, thinking, well, you're my husband. Wouldn't you want your children to rejoice in what I've made? And Aule is just like, that's not what I'm designing them for. And so she thinks she's punishing him by making his children not like what she's made, but it turns out it didn't matter anyways. And so Yavanna, this whole time is trying to find, just a little bit of control over what she's created. And then at the end to just be like, well, I know I was trying to punish you, but listen here, you're going to get punished this way instead. And either way, Aule just could not care. He's just so happy that the dwarves are made. So I really like this chapter. Their emotions feel really realistic in this one. It's not quite so abstract in how their thought process is, I guess. So I like this chapter. You get to see how the dwarves are made, how the eagles are created, and the ents are made. So I think that's really cool. And I'm kind of wondering when exactly the eagles and the trees sort of come to life, when they exactly awaken. And maybe I'll say that later in the story, but I know that Treebeard from the Lord of the Ring books, the elves call him old. So I don't know. I'm wondering if the trees wake up right before the elves do, and so they're already old by the time the elves awake. I don't know. Just an interesting thought. But yeah, that's it. This was a short video, a short chapter, but I loved it. I love talking about dwarves. I don't know why. I don't know. Gimli's one of my favorite characters. I just love how spunky he is. I love that the dwarves are quick to friendship and to make enemies. They're just very impulsive people, and I love that. I don't know. I like it. I think it's fun. So that's this week's story. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm hoping we'll have a new video next week. I'm not sure. We might take a break from the Silmarillion just for a week. But yeah, you can stay tuned for that one. So please like and subscribe, leave comments, let me know what you guys think of this story. Let me know what your favorite race in Middle Earth is. I'd love to know what you guys think, and what you think about Yavanna and her sassiness, and Aule's just casual whateverness. So, yeah. So, that's it for this week, and may the hairs on your toes never fall out. Bye.